to another Vampire Masquerade stream, everybody. So, just to catch everyone up from the last stream, in case you missed it, we are now playing, that is, the second playable character, Lamar. He is a different type of vampire than Mandy was. And the circumstances of his embrace, as they call it, were quite a bit different than hers. His sire left a woman in the room with him that he then fed on, and that was how he turned. Kadir, the same vampire that came to pick up Mandy, also came to pick up him. He was then taken to the same gallery that Mandy was, but only he didn't get executed. So that's where we're at. Sophie, the red-haired vampire who also wanted Mandy that also wanted Mandy to rely on her to get her out of that situation. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for her, but she offered the same thing to Lamar, and he willingly accepted. And so where we left off, he fell asleep in the apartment that Sophie had given him where he could live. And so that is where we are at this point. So we're in what looks like a tutorial, so let's read what this says here. Hunger is at the heart of a vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over in its desire to feed. To overindulge in feeding may threaten the masquerade, while staining what humanity you have left. Right, that's good to know. In coteries of New York, having high hunger is indicated by a progressively thicker, bloody frame around the screen like the one you see now. As your hunger grows, so does this indicator. Your hunger may increase when you call upon your vampiric powers or when you need to mend your wounds after a fight. When your hunger reaches the maximum level, you will receive a warning after you complete a piece of the story. Ignore it at your own peril. Ooh, that's actually really good to know. I didn't realize that was going to be a part of this, but I guess since it's a vampire game, that makes sense. Some choices might only become visible if your hunger is high enough. Similarly, high hunger may block off some choices, as you will be able to see after pressing continue. Okay, that's good to know. Blocked off option. Oh, that's interesting. Whatever it is, it's not something we can click on. I wonder what it is. Alright, I guess we'll just hit continue. To decrease your hunger, you will need to feed. Whenever you see a feeding opportunity, you can take the risk to hunt and slake your hunger. Alright, makes sense. Okay, we can't do that. Feeding opportunity. You will need to keep the hunger at bay if you are to uphold the masquerade and survive the nights that await you. Oh, goody. Sounds intense. Alright, so I guess we're resting. Okay. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling. The Solia metal door is closed. Normally, you'd stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you'd probably throw the quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you are fully conscious. No grogginess, nothing weighing you down, just the nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time, 9:04 p.m. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is NYC's artificial nighttime luminescence. Oh, good lord. I'm sorry. Let me try that again. The only light coming in is NYC's artificial nighttime luminescence. So that's what your waking hours are going to look like now. You missed the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this out all... Wow, I keep adding words where there aren't words. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself. But then you come back to the memory of Kadyr's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour and then switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe had a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of recommendations. The doorbell rings. It's Sophie. Good evening, Lamar. Slept well? Like a baby, like a dead man. It's not exactly sleep, right? Like a baby. What a delightful choice of words, so appropriate. A newborn kindred, lost and confused in the night. You made the right choice yesterday. I can teach you many things about yourself. Your blood, its desires and its power. We will begin tonight. You are hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There is only one remedy, the blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you slake your thirst. So tonight I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the kind's vulnerabilities to your advantage. I'm ready to learn. No more freebies. Predator and prey, huh? Grim. Sounds like a good response. Predator and prey, huh? So let me get this straight. We are predators. Humans are prey? That's pretty grim. I know what you feel. I remember the notion. But you will inevitably grow beyond it. You need blood to thrive, but there are many ways to take it. Some more humane than others. You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop culture mainstays, correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. That is why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. Alright, a few choices. How do you avoid being seen? How do you cover your tracks? How do you select a victim? Let's find out how to select someone. That sounds important. How do I choose who to feed from? Are there better or worse targets? Isolated kind are easiest prey, of course, but much depends on context. Hunting requires a different approach in a busy club than it does on an empty street. With time, you will have the luxury of finding your preference in hunting methods and prey. For now, I suggest experimenting, in moderation. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous, but by branching out, you risk the ire of other kindred on whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, NYC is more forgiving in this regard. New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhood remains one more time. New York is New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As long as you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory is waiting for us. The busy street fills the air with traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mix of smells that disorient you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. You catch yourself. Did you really just think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for her and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car casually joins the somewhat thinned New York traffic. It's still busy in a way only one of the biggest cities in the world can be, but compared to the daytime commute, it's a pleasant drive. You barely have the time to gather your thoughts and formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline. Tell you bronies out there, I almost stumbled and said Manhattan. Teehee. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline. You feel a pang of emotion as you realize this is where you took part in the exhibition just 2 nights prior. Same address, and you suspect, same hall. To what ends has it been repurposed tonight? Come, Lamar. Park the car, Gregory, will you? The driver just nods, and Sophie gets out. You join her, and the two of you walk through the glass doors together, then take the elevator up. You first notice an empty stage with the instruments of a string quartet still in the back, then take in the few dozen chairs in front of it. The concert seems concluded. The patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the hall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that she flashes in front of a security guard. You follow close and are led through without issue. Let's start easy. A social setting like this one would usually prove quite challenging to an inexperienced kindred, but consider this evening a small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to procure for you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking small sips. This one I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now, let's see here. Ah, there he is. She notices somebody in the crowd, flashes a heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who's almost tripping over himself to reach her, clearly agrees. Edgar, I'm so happy to see you. How is your daughter? Is she with you? Oh, there she is. Julie, my girl, come over, please. There is somebody I'd like you to meet. The young woman who walks across the hall can't be more than 19 years old. It's clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit this crowd. Julie, this is Lamar. I think the two of you should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you'll like each other. The girl gives you a shy smile and nods toward the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what it is exactly Sophie expects you to do. You reach a secluded space from which the entire lobby is visible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently, then laugh when she does. Julie saves you the trouble of figuring out the next step. If you're with Sophie, then I guess you're, that you know. She puts her wrist to her lips and gives herself She puts her wrist to her lips and gives herself a theatrical nip, then looks to you, embarrassed but also hopeful. Yeah, I do. I don't know what you're talking about. What, you're into that sort of thing? Probably just be blunt. Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. She takes off her jacket, unbuttons her sleeve, then rolls it up. You see a tattoo of a cat in an astronaut suit, one feline eye winking at you. There, just enjoy. A perfectly awkward smile and a blush. Ooh, I don't know. It'll probably, I don't know how subtle we're gonna be. We're in a crowded place, but she said something about choosing the right moment. She said get acquainted, so you take her forearm in your hands. A quick look around confirms nobody's watching, and no security cameras cover this area. You bite down, gently. It's surreal. She's just given you her blood of her own volition. How is this possible? What about the masquerade? You need to ask Sophie. Your thoughts disappear amid the bliss. There's just the taste. Sweet, fresh, sanguine. You drink, and drink, and drink. No, stop. You tear away from the girl harder than you wanted. Still, the bite leaves just tiny punctures. Almost as if by instinct, you lick them clean, and the two holes become concealed, just like that. Julie is now leaning on the wall, pale, wobbly on her feet, but happy. She lets out a dreamy sigh, opens her eyes. A few tears fall onto her shirt, tears of joy. Thank you. Please, can you walk me downstairs? Please? My dad, he doesn't know. Thinks it's a condition. Miss Langley told him so. She leans on you and requests you walk her over to a bench. She takes a seat and smiles at you. The crowd around Sophie disperses slowly. Looking at her now, only some residual awe hangs in the air. Yes, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? You walk over to her. Edgar, dear, it was splendid talking to you, but we need to get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with, Lamar. Gregory is waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. I can tell from your look that you took the opportunity. Good for you. That girl's exquisite, don't you think? You wouldn't tell by her demeanor, but she has so much passion. It brings out a unique bouquet in her blood. Her blood was delicious. She knows who we are. I feel like I took advantage of her. May as well admit it. It's the way we've been playing them so far. She was something else, to be sure. Delicious. I could barely stop myself from drinking more. I'm glad you did. She's one of my favorites. Consider tonight special in this regard. I do not share her with just anybody. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes the car over to Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. What did you do to the people back there? What's that about training wheels? Why Flushing Meadows? What's that about training wheels? What do you mean by training wheels? Julie was proving ground for you to try your hand at controlled feeding. Now it's time for a real hunt, and that will require you to put in extra effort. We all have our talents. Some of them come from the legacy we inherit from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. I can sway people or make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace, and more. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me to hunt. powers? How do I use my powers? How do I use my powers? Sounds important. How exactly do I use these talents? You will the blood to do your bidding. Many times you'll find you do these things intuitively, almost passively, but making an entire room focus their attention on you, that is tempting the beast. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It is all fine if you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind, but save those overt talents for the right place and time. It only takes you half an hour to reach the park at this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight. The stars just barely visible in the light-polluted aura of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood, but only pick one victim. Just one. Then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger or someone like them could work, but focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario, there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Or maybe the tennis courts nearby? There's a light coming from there, so somebody might still be playing a late night match. They won't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. As these scenarios play out in your mind, you realize you're planning how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but the now familiar hunger prompts you to act. Alright, search for a victim around the park, hunt near the decrepit pavilion, look for prey at the tennis courts, take a walk but don't feed. No, we should feed. We kind of need to prove our worth to Sophie since she stuck her neck out for us. That sounds very important, I would think. So, then, 1 second. Let's see here. Alright, search for a victim around the park. Definitely not the tennis court. Let's search the pavilion. That sounds isolated. You make your way to one of the park's most well-known landmarks, the round skeleton of the New York State Pavilion, with its 2 vaguely futuristic-looking towers. You don't get lucky with the skate park. It's not deserted. Instead, a group of skaters is gathered there, talking loudly and listening to music playing out of crackling smartphone speakers. Deciding to have a quick look around, you identify a potential victim. A sleeping bag lady leans back on a bench, a shopping cart full of what looks like trash nearby. Even thinking of that second option makes you feel sick. You decide to take your chances with the skaters, not even getting close to the homeless woman. You think back to what Sophie did in the hall, how she managed to focus the attention of the entire gathering on her. That might be a tall order for you, but a single person could be doable. You single out a guy who's talking on his phone away from the gathering. He's having a heated discussion with somebody. A relative? A partner? It's not going well. The talk's over. I said shut the fuck up. Hey, you hearing me? Shut up. Call me when you get some fucking sense in your stupid brain, Kay? He ends the call abruptly and almost throws the phone to the ground in frustration. May as well be friendly. Rough night? He's got an angry expression on his face and tears welling in his eyes, but he gives you a curious look and even a bit of a shy smile. Yeah, you could say that. What's up? Ooh, I want to show you something. We want to lead him away. I have something to show you. Come on. He takes a few steps forward away from his buddies, who remain totally oblivious to what's happening, but you see your influence fading. You take your chance and lunge. Oh, Lord. Your fangs sink into his exposed shoulder. He shivers and lets out a moan. His phone hits the pavement, and you hear the casing crack. His blood tastes like a clash of hot emotion and melancholy, laced with some artificial stimulant you can't quite place. An energy drink? A recreational drug? It's a strange mix. You hardly have the chance to savor it, as the proximity of the skater's friends finally makes you... You hardly have the chance to savor it, as the proximity of the skater's friends makes you feel vulnerable. You hastily finish drinking and drag the guy over to the pavilion. When you turn around, you realize you're not alone. A hooded man is looking menacingly at you. What do you think you're doing barging in on my turf like this, Lick? Lick? That's a new word. You know, I'm gonna actually open the dictionary for a second here. What does that mean? That's a new word. Lick, a derogatory term, usually used to address young, unexperienced vampires. Ooh, so this guy's being... Lick, what kind of slur is that? Didn't mean to trespass. I may as well be apologetic. I didn't mean to trespass. Sorry, I'm going. Too late for that, friendo. You want to leave here in one piece? You talk. Candidly. I know what you are, so you can shove that masquerade misdirection up your ass. Now you better tell me who you're with before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you. Well, we can't... Well, we're not gonna mess with Sophie. We don't want her to get in trouble. You talk big, but I'm thinking you're just a chump. Want to prove me wrong? He tenses up, gives you a nasty look, and bares his fangs. You don't want to push your luck, dumb fuck. My crew is an earshot, one shot away, and you're D-O-N-E. Done. You get what I'm saying? So if you want to dance, let's dance. Once I'm through, I'm gonna hand you over to Callahan, and you're gonna be sorry. Oh, God. So if you want to dance, let's dance. Once I'm through, I'm gonna hand you over to Callahan, and you're gonna be sorry I didn't finish you off instead. Celerity. Run back to Sophie fast. That might not be a bad idea. Hello, Phase Cassandra. What's up? Alright, so Phase Cassandra, since I see you're in our little chat here, just to catch you up in case you missed it, basically, we encroached on this vampire's turf, and we can either use celerity to run back to Sophie, our patron, call for help, or attack him. What do you think we should do? I think we should get back to her, but what do you think? No, not a whole lot. So which of these options do you think we should pick? I'm encouraging my viewers to help me through the story. Call for help, huh? Alright. Help! Anyone! The guy reacts immediately, charging you and pushing you to the ground. He goes for a bite. You don't let him reach you. He's fast, but pretty weak. The brawl takes a bit out of both of you. Suddenly, you hear heavy footsteps closing in, and the thug is snatched from over you. He hits a tree, hard, and before he can recover, a sharp piece of wood pierces his chest. Ooh, shit! It's Gregory, Sophie's driver, who deals the blow. The hoodlum is rendered inert. His eyes remain open, but he does not move and does not protest when Gregory pushes him over his shoulder. Miss Langley is waiting for us. Come before your snack wakes up. He points to your victim, who is just coming to, and gives you a somewhat snarky smile, then breaks into a swift walk towards the Unisphere. Alright, we have another one now. Do we say, I had him on the ropes, how did you get here this fast, or thanks for the help? Thanking him for the help. That sounds like a good move. Okay. Hey, thanks for the help. Miss Langley asked me to look out for you. She suspected you'd get into trouble. He seems to realize he might have said too much and just keeps walking, somewhat embarrassed. To reach the Unisphere together with the hoodlum in tow. Oh, wow. I totally read that wrong. My bad. You reach the Unisphere together with the hoodlum in tow. Two figures are visible near the sculpture, a man and a woman, tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie, feeding, but this whole scene is set up so that it looks like a pair getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet as she lets go of him and leads him toward a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. She nods to Gregory as you approach. And what do we have here? Did this kindred give you trouble, Lamar? Okay, we have another one here, guys. Do we say, yeah, but Gregory helped? Why did you send Gregory to babysit me? Or he mentioned a Callahan. Ring any bells? And Callahan, I'm guessing, is the guy that the vampire that just got staked was working for. Is what I'm guessing. Okay, yeah, we can say number one, that's fine. Yeah, but Gregory helped. Yeah, a bit, but Gregory was there to help, so... So we've got a staked kindred on our hands, and he's not Camarilla. Corona Park hasn't been claimed by anyone I know of. Curious. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this hoodlum's acquaintance. Gregory carries the staked vampire and dumps him in the car's trunk like a mannequin. It's a strange sight, and you're quite happy you're not in that poor fucker's shoes right now. It's almost surprising that you can get away with just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away, but then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is a dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing has about as many caveats as it has perks. Thanks for coming, have fun! You're taken out of your headspace by Sophie's voice. I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend at Elysium, and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the back needs to be properly introduced to Kadir and the prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. Alright, what's going to happen to him? Good riddance, this guy's an asshole. I'd do the same thing in his place. Let's ask what's going to happen to him. That sounds important. What's going to happen to him? The usual, I imagine. Interrogation by Kadir, probably in the basement of the gallery. A quick trial with the prince in attendance if she's there tomorrow night. A swift execution as the verdict. This all sounds eerily familiar to you, and you can't help but feel a pang of guilt when you think about what awaits this guy tomorrow night. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope? It'll take some getting used to. I think so, yeah. Let's go ahead and say that we think so. I think I am, yeah. I'll cope. I'm glad. She doesn't question you further. She seems distracted, not all there. Her thoughts drift, and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment. We will pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory, with a body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with situations like these in the past unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it'll take time to process. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelves in the apartment are either in languages you don't speak or sound like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door. A moment of hesitation, but then a decision. This time, you turn the light off. You think back to Julie. How many people in this city know about this vampiric society? How many are willing accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park, if he's not Camarilla, then what is he? Are there independent vampires? How does that work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night when you can start crossing them off the list instead of adding to it. You close your eyes. You sink into the now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms, like an old friend. Alright, now we hit rest. An evening passes. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin drifting in the abyss. Oh, right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living room space, a book in her hand. The Melancholy of Resistance. The title's sure on the brand. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, wow, hold on, sorry. Good evening, Lamar. Good evening, Sophie. How did you get inside? Sorry to have kept you waiting. Probably be polite. Sorry to have kept you waiting. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time when I called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. Come, we have an appointment. I received word Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get in the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back. Most of the Primogen Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you'd do well to at least learn about. Who should I talk to? How should I carry myself when inside? More politics? Great. Probably learn how to mingle. How should I carry myself? You never told me if there's any savoir-faire kind of rules I should respect when talking to other vampires. Knowing that you're among your superiors is probably the most important. In our society, status comes with age. Pardon my sincerity, but you are insignificant. Not even associating with me can make the fact that you've been kindred for barely a few nights be forgotten. So know your place. Stay out of your superior's business and show the utmost respect. Thanking the prince for sparing you, and maybe having a friendly chat with Kadir publicly might show your gratefulness for being a part of the Camarilla now. I would suggest you make it sincere. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you. She might be protecting and teaching you. But it's clear what she's really concerned about, her own interests. You step into the art hole with something of a bad memory. The last time you were here, your entire world had been turned upside down, and your existence nearly ended. But tonight, there is very little outward hostility. Yes, Kadir gives you a look that is definitely intended to remind you of your place, but the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie. Lamar. Did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand that there is somebody else you wish to present to the court tonight. Yes, Prince. They will be joining us shortly. My assistant is retrieving them presently. Whoa, excuse me. Dropped my controller there. This better be worth the prince's time, Langley. The prince gives Kadir a cold glance. Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He is in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Lamar's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch, that must have hurt his ego, even if his only reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you feel a pang of emotion again. Whoever he was, he left a lasting impression, one reinforced with your visit to the show space last night. That's the past. Right now, though, you're back in the gallery and are reminded of your sister instead. Emma frequents this place. Is she aware of these clandestine meetings after dark? The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit-clad inert vampire still staked on his shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectfully to Kadir. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life, and he starts looking around in disbelief. Like a cornered animal, he backs out on all fours. He keeps going in circles until he realizes he's trapped. Kadir steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. Why, who do we have here? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. No, come on. Don't. Silence. The sheriff takes on an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks, and you can swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some of the other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you've experienced in his company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. It seems like it takes all of the hoodlum's willpower to not crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, Please, don't hurt me, man. Don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs at the prince's discretion. Please, go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up. Let's go. He doesn't wait for a confirmation. He just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming, out of the room. Conversations start all around you. Some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. Torture in art gallery, will Cater manage on his own? What happens now? Let's ask about the torture. For how cultured you all seem, torturing somebody in an art gallery doesn't seem to faze you. Oh, please, do keep your naivety to yourself. Power and violence have always been two sides of the same coin. Most of us here are far too old to bother with keeping up appearances. Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to a corner of the gallery where a group of kindred, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink. Still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip to start you off. A splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the inside of your cheeks. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here those few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh turns your attention to the bespectacled man who saw you with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column, watching you. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. We should probably start with talking to the prince. We need to thank her for saving us. You approach the prince, trying to stay as respectful of her private conversation as possible. She glances at you as you step forward, her scrutinizing gaze mimicked by her companion. She addresses the dark-skinned woman before turning to you. Excuse me for just a moment, Samira. Yes, Lamar, what is it? We should thank her, absolutely. I wish to thank you for sparing me, Prince. I realize it wasn't an easy decision to make, and I wanted to express my sincere appreciation. How thoughtful of you. She takes a long look at you before she continues. I didn't do it from the kindness of my unbeating heart. You are an asset to Miss Langley, to the Camarilla, and to me. I believe I made the right decision. Prove to me and the other kindred of this city that it was so, and there might be more to your future nights than just survival and servitude. The dark-skinned woman looks impatiently at you and catches the prince's attention. Forgive me, that's all the time I can spare right now. We have some things to discuss with Samira still. Enjoy your night, Lamar. You leave the two women to their conversation, which they get back to almost immediately after the prince turns to Samira. You notice Sophie mingling with other kindred, clearly in her element and not to be disturbed. Cater hasn't come back yet, so you can probably still find time for at least one conversation. Chat up the man with the glasses, confront the man looking at you. Yeah, better not make a scene, I think. Let's go with that. The man notices your attention, but it takes a few minutes before he pauses his mingling for long enough to actually approach him. He looks at you quizzically. Thomas Arturo. Pardon? It's my name. I assumed you'd like to know. I know you. By name only, of course. Lamar, embraced just a few nights ago, huh? Well, well, well. How's Undeath treating you? You know, I think I'm beginning to like it. Oh, already? Fast learner, are you? Good. Good attitude to have. It'll take you places. He takes a moment to clean his glasses, completely ignoring you until he's done, and puts them back on. I'm sorry, got a bit distracted. You know most of us don't need to wear these, right? I can see just fine without them, but it's a statement. The damn things keep catching specks of dust and other assorted shit, though. Never stay clean for long. Sometimes I think they're more trouble than they're worth, wouldn't you say? I suppose we can compliment the guy. They look good on you, really. You bet they do. Alright, that was a nice chat, but I have to catch up with a few other fellows tonight. Talk to you later. Jeannie! Hey, Jeannie! He doesn't even give you a chance to say goodbye. He's already off, grabbing 2 glasses of a concierge tray and handing one to a mustachioed man nearby. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everybody's attention. Kadir is back, and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes his unfortunate victim inside the room. The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat is still explicitly... The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat is still explicitly on his head, covering some of his ruined face in welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. His shin is broken, you think. Something protruding there, making the pant-leg bulge. One arm seems twisted at a strange angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadir, did our guest cooperate? Tell the prince your name. It's Howard. And who do you run with, Howard? The Midnighters. An anarch coterie, my prince. Active for some time now, though from what this one told me, the name is about the only legacy the group has kept over the years. I see. Hey, Prince, I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I didn't. A loud crack makes some of the guests audibly gasp as Kadir's slap dislocates the man's jaw. A spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor. This one is guilty of threatening a member of the Camarilla and claiming a domain without the prince's approval. That alone would be enough to pass swift judgment, but he is also anarch scum. My prince? There can be only one verdict. Final death. Do your duty, Sheriff. Unless, of course, somebody would like to make a... Excuse me. Unless, of course, somebody would like to play at being a good Samaritan like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. The look the prince serves you and Sophie is a cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm under yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Howard jumps to his feet and makes for the window. I wonder, does the dictionary define celerity? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't define it. I'm guessing it's an ability. You have a feeling Howard's efforts are fruitless. Just a few seconds later, that feeling is confirmed. He almost reaches the window. Almost, but not quite. In what seems like a blink of an eye, Kadir appears first near his scabbarded sword in one... Oh, wow. In what seems like a blink of an eye, Kadir appears first near his scabbarded sword in one corner of the gallery, and then next to the escaping anarch on the opposite side of the room. The next moment, Howard's head flies off of his body, baseball cap free. His lifeless body crumbles to the ground and begins to decompose in real time. It's an uncanny sight. As always, our sheriff does not fail to impress. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this anarch thug to my and Kadir's attention. I assume all have found the verdict satisfactory. It's a rhetorical question, and everybody here knows it. Then consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to all of you. She steps out of the room, and you see that many guests move to do the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with somebody, a serious-looking man in a trench coat, about what transpired. You probably have the time to strike up a conversation of your own, too. Kadir al-Asmai is still here for one, but clearly getting ready to leave. Arturo is still here, chatting with the remaining attendants. For a moment, you think the man who was looking at you earlier left, but he's still here, keeping to himself in a secluded corner. We should talk to Kadir. The sheriff's mood seems to have improved, so you decide you won't get a better shot at saying your piece. He is just sheathing his sword as you approach him. He notices you, just before his face turns from a melancholic frown back to his regular predatory smirk. You seem to have caught him in a moment of reflection. What is it, Lamar? I wanted to thank you for bringing me here in one piece, for giving me a chance. An emotion creeps onto Kadir's face that you haven't seen the sheriff exhibit yet. Is that gratitude? It's fleeting, only there for a moment, gone in the blink of an eye. It was trying on my nerves, and you are still far and away from proving that it was the right thing to do. So don't think that a few kind words will let you off the hook. I wonder, how does it feel to bring a lamb to the slaughter the way you did tonight? Do you feel any remorse? Regret? I'm going to enjoy guessing. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Tell me, do you enjoy this, being a sheriff for Prince Panhard? Enjoyment has nothing to do with this. It's my duty. When Calabros asked me to fill the shoes of the sheriff and root out our enemies, I was glad to serve the sect. When Helene became prince and I asked that I keep doing this, I agree, because When Helene became prince and asked that I keep doing this, I agreed, because I believe in the Camarilla and I respect the fact that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. He picks up the sword and turns toward the stairs. If more kindred understood that, my job would be much duller, though. On that note, I wish you a good night. And watch yourself. You've messed up my batting average, so I'll be sure to keep a close eye on you. With that final threat, he leaves the gallery. It's right about when Sophie also ends her conversation and walks over to you. Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory's waiting downstairs. She seems preoccupied with something and not in a talkative mood. It's an awkward ride back to the city. This time, you arrive at another building, just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs, through a very nice lobby and a luxurious-looking hall, into her domain. Please have a seat. I shall be right with you. You take in your surroundings. The apartment is like a gallery, an old-school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece once, and a nouveau riche's living room meticulously combined together. Apologies. Old habits die hard. Clearly, some stick with you even after your death. She drags on her cigarette and breathes out. Breathes. How is she doing that? Can you do that? Can you do that? Oh, yes. You might not know. It takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you'd like. Other things, too. experiment, you might surprise yourself. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest these nights. The door in the back, the bedroom, similar to yours. I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. When I told you before that I needed your best behavior to uphold my good standing with the court, I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interests in mind, too. That's why I've given you your own haven, why I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me, or else this won't work. You can come here whenever you feel like asking me something. When you're in trouble, too, though I hope that won't happen often. I would ask you to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I'll have something to discuss with you. Oh, first. I appreciate that silence. There is definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight, but she doesn't seem eager to share it with you just yet. I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift. A quick trip, a promise that you'll show up tomorrow, and some polite goodbyes later. The door to your hand and gather your. It's exciting in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into this secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you, it's bound to teach you more about this thing you have become. You into your vampire, which is a sliver of hope. It's a welcome change. Rest. Oh dear.